All right, good morning, everyone. This is Ryan. Just wanted to touch base. What we're going to be talking about today is the AutoCAD Drawing Compare feature, and then we'll open it up and have our open forum for discussion for the topics that you guys would really like to see for next year. And, well, we have someone hearing elevator music on the call-in number. So.
All right, so you know what? If they're, where are you seeing that? In the chat?
Q&A.
All right. I'll respond to Tim because everybody else should be hearing us just fine.
Okay. So those of you that have talked or heard me talk before, basically we'll have a little brief history here, but welcome to the AutoCAD DWG Compare and the Open Forum webcast. Notice that all attendees are going to be muted throughout the call. If you have any questions during the presentation, please post them in the Q&A panel. We will answer as many questions as we can following the presentation. So just a little bit about me. My name is Ryan Wunderlich. I have 32 years of experience in AutoCAD across multiple industry segments. I've taught AutoCAD at the community college as a certified instructor. And as well, I also teach AutoCAD and many of the verticals here out of the Boise office. I've had more than 15 years experience in CAD management. The last job before I came to IMAGINiT, I was in shipbuilding, cruise shipbuilding to be specific, new builds and revitalizations. I've done 5 years of support in civil survey landscape architecture before that. I've worked in mechanical, electromechanical, printed circuit board schematic design, architecture, acoustic, as well as doing equipment layouts in industrial spaces. And I have a bachelor's in business management and a master's in organizational management. So basically today's agenda, we're going to talk about the AutoCAD DWG Compare feature that's included in the new 2019 software, well, kind of new 2019 software. And then once we go through that, we will have an open forum roundtable where we will basically expand upon what you guys would like to see for next year. I know a lot of you, there was a survey link that sent out. We only got a few responses on that, and it seems like everybody wants to see tips and tricks, but we want to know what tips and tricks are important to you so that we can actually help do this online user group and make sure that we're giving you the content that you guys would actually like to see. So what is Drawing Compare? AutoCAD actually includes new functionality to compare drawings and highlight the differences. Here's what it can actually detect. If you had a block that you've exploded into geometry, it will detect that as a change. It detects changes in geometry. Now, when I say changes in geometry, it will see that objects have moved, changed lengths, things like that. One of the things I do want to make you aware of is those changes in geometry. You can do very, very minute changes. We're talking, 1/10,000th or what is it, 1/1,000,000th of a millimeter change, and it actually will not pick up on that. But in most cases, you're going to be moving things enough so that you will see some of those changes. It will also detect changes in hatch, text styles, scaling, and then it will also look at content. So if you change contents of text, it will actually highlight what has actually changed. The big things, here's what it cannot detect. It cannot detect a layer change. So if I have geometry that has not changed at all in size, but I've moved it to a new layer, it doesn't detect that. And if I've taken a block, put it in a new drawing, change the name of that block and put it back in the old drawing, it's not going to detect the block name change because, again, it's only looking at geometry. It's not looking at some of those other things. Okay. So how we launch DWG Compare. With no drawing open, you click on the AutoCAD icon in the upper left and then select DWG Compare. If you have drawings open, you can click on the AutoCAD icon, you go down to Drawing Utilities, and then you click on DWG Compare. And you can also type in the word compare in the command line. So what happens is that as soon as you launch the DWG Compare, you get this box that says select the files. You pick Drawing 1 and Drawing 2. By default, your colors are red and green. We can change that. And then we'll look at the various options in the Compare ribbon panel once we have these open. So with this ribbon panel that's open in the ribbon panel, we can see both drawings that are open, and you'll see anything that's in Drawing 1 is highlighted in green, anything that's Drawing 2 is highlighted in red, and anything that's common to both is gray. You will also see that we can highlight text and changes with that text panel under the compare filter highlighted and shaded. We can also do the same thing with hatches, and we can draw revision clouds over what has changed, and we can change the ribbon cloud behavior. So all of those things we can actually do from within there, and then we can save this out as its own drawing so we can actually see these changes. So what I'm going to do is actually give you a practical walkthrough, right? So if I open up my AutoCAD here, and I'm just going to go into my DWG compare right here. And the two files that I'm going to look at, I'm going to look at my college building A, and I'm going to look at my college building A1. Now, if I do not have any idea of what has changed when it opens up, so I have some blocks, I have some hatching and things like that, and you're going to see that I have some changes here. So my text moved slightly here. So you'll actually see that it highlights that and draws a cloud around that. You'll see that I had a wall that not only moved, but I had to explode this wall. So that's why it's clouding the whole thing this way. And then I have a change in the attribute text in this block. So with that change in the attributes, it actually picks up the fact that the geometry has changed. But those are the only things that have actually changed. And again, I have green, red in here. And if I turn off the compare filter for the text disappears from the drawing, and I'm only looking at the geometry changes. I'll turn this back on, and then I'll also click on hatch because I have a hatch pattern here that I changed the scale and the rotation of ever so. Actually, I just changed the scale on this one. So it detected the fact that the scale of the hatch changed even though the hatch itself did not. There's a couple of other things. So I can draw revision clouds or I can choose not to. And then I have a couple of options here. I have rectangular or polygonal. And if I select the polygonal style, what it's going to do is it's going to draw that revision cloud only around the areas that have physically changed. And it is not going to go through and do that entire rectangle. So I can see exactly what's changed. Right, this one's fairly straightforward. So let's take a look at some other drawings that I've got in here. So we'll go back to the drawing utilities. We'll go back to DWG compare, and I'm going to compare A to A2, and I'm going to do a compare here, right? And you'll see that it opens up the one drawing, it opens up the drawing underneath, and you're going to see the same changes. So what I did here, just to give you guys an idea, is that I actually exploded these two doors. That's why they show up as changes. So it's not technically a geometry change, but the door does show up because it's a change in the overall drawing geometry because these are no longer blocks. And again, if I click on hatch, you'll see that my hatch changed because I did not change the scale of the hatch. I changed the rotation angle, and again, it shows up. So this is kind of the power that you have that is inside this DWG compare. Now let's say you're a civil person and you're using civil software, right? I can go back to the drawing utilities here, and this is the same. It's in all of the Autodesk products or AutoCAD-based products. So I've got a drawing surface here, and I have the same drawing surface here that I've made some slight modifications to the overall contours in a small area. You'll see again, it's going to open up the drawings, and what you're going to see when it's done is you're going to see the contours that I have modified from my area, and you'll see this is where my changes occurred. So it not only works in just plain AutoCAD, but it actually will work in the verticals as well. Now, mind you, I've just opened this in plain AutoCAD, but I created these drawings and made these modifications inside Civil 3D. It would be exactly the same if you guys are using AutoCAD MEP. If you change a pipe or you swap out a part for one pipe on another, things like that. Once you've done that and you come in and do the DWG compare, you will see these differences. And again, like I said, you can come back here. Now, if I want to save this, if I click save here, it'll actually let me save this as a compare drawing, and it shows me the two drawings I'm comparing. And once I compare these two drawings, it will always be in this format, and then I can always see the changes. For example, all I did here was swap the two letters, and it picked that up as a change in the text. There's no changes up here in this block. This is nothing more than a block attribute, so it did not detect any changes there because there are no changes here. Even though one of these blocks is one of these blocks with the attributes is one name and one is the other. That's what I wanted to really be clear about, is that these blocks are different names, but since they are identical geometry, the DWG compare does not pick that up. In addition, I did a couple of things just to show you. These elevator cutouts right here, I actually changed the layer that this information is on for both of these, and it does not pick it up because the geometry didn't change, the layer did. And that was the other thing I wanted to point out to you. So while this is a very powerful tool to detect changes in the drawings, it is not necessarily going to give you every change that you may need to be concerned with. It's going to be looking more specifically for geometry, text, and block attributes, and whether or not something's been exploded. Like I said before, I had to explode this wall in order to stretch it, and as soon as I exploded it, that's why you see all of this information along here. So that is drawing compare. In a nutshell, it's a fairly straightforward concept. It's a very powerful tool in general. And let's say I wanted to change the color. I can change this from red. I just come up and click on the red, and I could maybe make this blue, right? And you'll see it blue. For those of you that may be, you know, red, green, colorblind, things like that, you can come up here and change the colors. And so now you'll see I have blue and yellow instead of red and green. You can always come back up here and do this, and you can change the draw order as well, where we can come and change the draw order so that, you know, the yellow is on top of the blue, or I can change it so that the blue is on top of the yellow. And if I want to turn one of these drawings off, I just click the light bulb and it will actually turn off the drawing in this view. Any questions on DWG compare? All right, well, that's our practical walkthrough and example. So if there are any questions, I would really love to know. Like I said, there are some things you can't detect with this, but there are some things that you can detect, and those little things that you can detect can make a big difference, especially if you're dealing, and where I see this as being the most powerful tool is if you have people who don't notate their revisions correctly or at all, or you're working with outside consultants that send you revised drawings that they may not, and you only compare from the same year version. That is a very good question. No, I can actually compare as long as the drawings, the DWGs themselves all have the same basic reference. You can compare drawings from vastly different versions of AutoCAD. So if you've got an AutoCAD drawing that was done in 2004 and you have a new as-built that was done last year, you can overlay those and see what the differences are. The only thing that you have to do is you have to use this from within AutoCAD 2019 or any of the 2019 verticals from AutoCAD. But it will open up drawings all the way back to release 2.
Did that answer the question? Can you only compare from the same year version?
Yeah, I believe, yeah. So I can compare drawings that were done in any version of AutoCAD, but I have to use 2019 to do the drawing compare because that's the only AutoCAD version that includes it. Okay, with that, if there's no other questions, that actually is the DWG compare feature within AutoCAD 2019. And now we can actually move on to the big one, which is the open forum and roundtable. So this is now the time that we're going to open up basically open up the queue and say, can you save a copy of the compared to share with clients? Yes, you can. Okay, let's hold on. Now we're getting some good questions. All right, let's go back to here. So I can do a save as, and you'll see that I could actually save this in any of the standard AutoCAD formats, right? And you're asking about DXF files. So if I go into my drawing compare and I click on this, what I do want you to see is that I can only pick DWG formats. So the DWG compare only will compare DWG. So if you have DXF files, you will need to open and save them as a DWG in order to do the compare. That's a very good question, Rick. Very few people ask about DXFs anymore. So thank you.
All right, I'm trying to work out the chat and the Q&A.
Okay.
So I've got people typing in both. So
I've got both boxes up, so we will take them as they come.
okay, we've got them. I'm just trying to, come on, chat. Okay, so I'm not sure if we got to this one. Does it work with Revit? Is there a feature in AutoCAD Viewer Online?
Oh, where are you seeing those?
I know it's in the chat. I know. So there's some questions in the chat. Does it work in Revit? Is this a feature in AutoCAD Viewer Online?
As far as the AutoCAD Online version, I am not aware that this is in there. The AutoCAD version that's the online through the web is a more basic function of AutoCAD. It's a more basic version. So there we go. So let's talk about that. So I don't know if it's in there. If it is, then great. If it's not, then this is something you would have to work from the full package. Let's see, XREF, OLE, spreadsheets, images, links, PDF, also comparable. Okay, so the things that are comparable, if it is XREFs are geometry, those are comparable. Anything that's an OLE link or an image reference, like if I opened up these that had raster images, it would come up and tell me that it cannot compare the raster images because it's only looking at the outside geometry. Okay, if the add-on can be installed on 2018, I have not seen the add-on in 2018. That doesn't mean that it's not there. If you can install the add-on, then you can probably do this with 2018. Right now, 2019 is the one that we seem to be working with, and this was the new feature for 2019. Objects in the Layout tab seem to make the feature behave incorrectly. I have not seen that behavior, Joe. What we may need to do is we may need to take a look a little deeper at that. I'm not comparing layout tabs. And is the drawing compare option in AutoCAD LT? That is a very good question. I am not sure if it is included in LT. I did not check that. Let me find out here. Let's see. Yes, AutoCAD LT 2019 does include DWG Compare.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, this is what always happens. As soon as I decide to move on, does it compare dimensions as well? Yes, dimensions are geometry, and if I have two pieces of dimension that are not going to the exact same points, it will highlight what is different between those. Is drawing compare in AutoCAD LT? Yes, 2019. Let's see. Okay, we've got that. Does it compare dimensions as well? Yes, I've answered that question. This does not work in Revit because DWG Compare is not a Revit function. It is an AutoCAD-based function. However, if you do export your drawings out of Revit into the AutoCAD DWG format, you could certainly use AutoCAD as your medium to do a compare between two different versions of Revit models. But you do have to export those out from Revit to AutoCAD DWG format. I have the chat. Did not see that one in the chat, so you may have a different chat up than I do, Lori.
Okay. I'm looking through, and I think you've answered everything.
Okay. So I think now we can actually move on to the open forum and roundtable. We had 6 responses from the survey that actually went out. We saw a lot of people wanted tips and tricks. Lynn Allen and, you know, more Lynn Allen guest speaker. I don't know what Lynn Allen's availability is going to be. She is no longer an AutoCAD employee, so she is no longer the technical evangelist for Autodesk. So that I do not know what her availability will be going forward and whether or not she wants to do that.
Right.
So that's a discussion we can have. But if you guys do have specific tips and tricks, we would love to know what you guys would like to see in the coming year. What kind of features, functionality, or processes would you like us to cover in the AutoCAD world that you guys would really find beneficial, or what would you like to know more about?
All right, and we're going to open that up now. So if people want to type into the chat window, we're going to take all of these down, and this is what the 2019 user group is going to look like. Just want to make sure, you know, so, and it doesn't even matter what vertical, because it's all helpful. Like, I mean, anybody that's using AutoCAD is going to benefit from whatever topic we do on tips and tricks. Like when we did that survey, we had equal amounts of people in different verticals responding to the same thing. So people in manufacturing wanted to see tips and tricks as much as people in the building community. I should probably ask Al what he wants for civil. Al, if you're still there. So one of the, you know, Ryan, you are also one of our customer evangelists, I guess, you know, when like people call you when they're having an issue with their software. As a matter of fact, you know, you won one of our top awards in our company this year for that. Do you know, is there anything that's coming in under AutoCAD that people are asking constantly that maybe we do cover in 2019?
You know, I can't say that most of what I deal with is break fix. You know, something is not working correctly. We generally do not get a lot of calls for people who need walkthroughs on a specific function, and when we do get those, it's very rare. So I would have totally been there and said, all right, jotting things down as I go along, but you know, it's not something that people use a lot of.
Right.
Our technical support for that. So that I know people use a lot of YouTube for things like that. So how do I add and delete from a group in 2018 or 2019 without to ungroup all? I used to know how to do this in 2017, but it doesn't seem to work that way in 2018, or am I not doing it correctly? Oh, that is a good question. That's one definitely we will want to add to our list of, you know, grouping, ungrouping, and editing groups. That might be something that we would definitely cover as a tutorial tips and tricks walkthrough for next year. That would actually be a very good one. I'm not a big fan of groups just because I have run into a lot of problems with them when people group from other software and bring it into Autodesk, but that doesn't mean that we can't cover it.
Okay.
If anyone has ever used any of the non-Autodesk products, one of them is CADWorks. And when you group stuff in CADWorks, it will bring it into AutoCAD as blocks, and every block has a different name. And so you may end up with multiple nested blocks deep, deep, deep that were all grouped objects. So that's one of the things that I don't like about groups. So definitely talk about that.
All right, so one of the responses in regards to tips and tricks, I'm going to try to read this because you can't see it, but it's create and manage both companies and user-defined tool palettes, particularly how to add new tool palettes automatically. So tool palettes?
Yep, tool palettes. I did a webinar on that earlier this year on how to do tool palettes, and so if that webinar does not cover what you need, that may be something a little more specialized where we may want to do something, you know, maybe have a discussion with this person offline or as part of a support ticket to actually get them set up the way they want, because that's far more specialized. But What we usually do in those cases, or what I've done in those cases in the past, is we set up those tool palettes to a specific folder, network folder, have it locked down, and then as the CAD administrator add things to those tool palettes, when the user opens up AutoCAD, they're automatically available. So that may be something like that, but I believe, let's see, a 3D drawing and a 2D drawing to explode all, not just viewing in 2D, but actually becoming one line type drawing. Okay, if you have a 3D drawing and you want to convert it into a 2D drawing without having to explode all, there's two parts of that. You can use a command called FlatShot, and we can talk about that too. What it will do is it will actually take your 3D CAD geometry in your view and create a 2D block from it, and you can specify whether or not to do hidden lines, things like that, not just viewing in 2D, but actually becoming a one line type drawing. That would be FlatShot. Right. The other thing is you could try and use the flatten command, although that doesn't always work very well. But FlatShot would probably be the command that we'd want to go. What are the icons by my crosshairs, and can I get a list of the icons? The icons by your crosshairs, those are called cursor badges. Let's see. Let me copy this. And generally speaking, all they are is just an indication of what you're doing. Like you'll see an X if you're exploding or can't pick on something. You may see the little move, things like that. It's called a cursor badge, and you may be able to look up and see what the cursor badges are out of the Autodesk help, but I have not been able to find a list myself. And honestly, I turn it off because it annoys me, but if you enjoy it, then that's something we can definitely look at next year as well.
All right, so Rodney's asking, will you be doing something on exporting 3D files for machine control, aka like is it TopCon or
yeah. So
Trimble?
Yep, so he's talking about exporting out of field instruments the 3D information and bringing it into CAD, if I remember right. Or if I,
okay.
We might be able to put something like that together. That we'd probably have to get an AE for.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Thank you, Rodney, because you know what? That is hot right now. And if you guys want to figure out how to do that, then we will find a way.
3D geometry. I'm writing this one down because this one, let's see, 3D. From.
That's a really good one.
TopCon. Leica to AutoCAD.
You know what? I'm going to save these Q&As. The Q&A will be saved, and you and I will go over it after. So I just want, you know, we've got 75 people on the call. You know, if we just get something where somebody throws something in as a title, we're going to look at it. We are not, you know, we're not going to say no to anything. If there are things that we can do, and if we can bring other people in within our company to help you, we will do that.
Always look forward to learning more about sheet sets and automating data in the title blocks and drawing reference callouts to fields. Do you think sheet sets are here to stay? Yes, sheet sets are here to stay. They will be part of Autodesk for a long time because of their power and the things that you can do with them. So definitely sheet sets. That would probably be another good one to put down, is sheet sets for next year.
Okay.
Let's see, will FlatShot also convert the drawing XREFs and or blocks that are in the drawing? Believe it does. You'll have to experiment, but I believe it will grab whatever you see on your screen or whatever you grab in FlatShot. So my suggestion is, if you're not familiar with that command, go take a look at it and see what you can and can't do with it. Let's see. What else we got? Anyone? This is your time, guys. This is the things that I want you guys to think about for next year. What other tools, what other features, what other kinds of things would you guys like us to demonstrate, walk through, show you, expand more?
There's your tool palettes. They come up all the time. Yep. We'll do tool palettes.
We'll redo tool palettes again.
Yeah. Instead of OLEs, using table and cell styles for formatting?
Oh, yeah. Data link still is the most effective way. I do not like using OLE objects simply because they do slow your CAD drawings down significantly when panning and zooming. And using table and cell styles for formatting, yes, and if your Excel spreadsheet is formatted how you like it, you can actually tell it to inherit the Excel formatting, not your AutoCAD formatting in that table when you do a data link. Okay, so that's a good one. This is the kind of stuff that I've been dying to see. Could you do a web and mobile app demo? Definitely, we could do a web app, we could definitely do a web demo of the web portal. The mobile app's going to be a little more difficult, simply because I don't think we can, share a screen from an iPad or things like that. But we can definitely take a look at that and see if we can do that. I will tell you that the mobile app is very functionally restrictive as far as what the mobile app can actually do, because it's not designed to do full-on CAD. It's designed to do red lines, real basic editing. The web app is a little more fully featured, but there are some limitations in the web app. So that could be something we could definitely look at for next year as well.
Okay. These are great.
Websites that are legit to be able to download from at work for blocks and for the tool palettes. Okay, that one. Okay. All right. So maybe what I will do is websites that are legit to be able to download from at work and for blocks and tool palettes. There are a few out there. And I'll leave it at that. That's something we can definitely discuss further. But
okay.
There are other things available out there, and I can do some research, and we can actually have a demo on where to find information in the cloud. So I'm weak on the import of MicroStation files to Civil 3D. Will you be doing anything on this, or has it been done in the past? They don't seem to talk to each other very well. Yes, they do not talk to each other very well. We can definitely, we could actually do a full Civil 3D one where we've got MicroStation to Civil 3D and import 3D geometry to Leica from a Leica TopCon.
Really?
Yeah, that would be one webinar.
That's awesome.
Okay. Let's see. Yes, more on how to use my AutoCAD on my phone app would be great. Let's see. Have you ever done a webinar on how to use the reference manager to clean up external references that are broken in multiple drawings? I don't believe that that one has ever been done, and that tool by itself is a lifesaver. So that could definitely be something good. No, let's see, I'm only seeing the open forum and roundtable screen. Should I be seeing the AutoCAD open and being demonstrated? We are already past that, Glenn, and we are actually in the roundtable so that we are discussing things for next way, or for the next year. So you may have missed the demo portion for the DWG compare, which is why you only see that slide. Easy way to convert 2D drawing to a 3D drawing and add utilities in 3D in a drawing. Oh, that one's going to be a lot more complicated. Unfortunately, Deborah, there is not an easy button to get 2D to 3D. But definitely, I've got that one listed. So if there is anything I can come across, we may definitely be able to highlight that, show that, or at least come back to that sometime next year. Let's see. Anything else, guys? You guys are throwing out some great stuff here.
Yeah, I know. I've got it all saved. And so what I can do is I can clean up the Q&A, and I can give it to you, and we can go through it. And, you know, if if we pull in other other technical resources, then that's great. Those will be our guests, to get through this. We've got, I think there are 6 webcasts for 2019. We do them every other month, depending on how quickly I can get started. I'm looking at February now, just because I need to give the time to work on things. So I'm looking at February, April, and June for now. Okay, cool. Okay.
Okay. Does the industry still rely heavily on AutoCAD, or will it be moving more toward Revit? That is a very loaded question, Eric. Let me say that there are still some things that you will do in AutoCAD, even in Revit. If you've ever tried to do really ornate details in Revit, you'll find out that that's painful. And you'll find that it's easier to draw those in AutoCAD and just dump them on a sheet in Revit for details. Also, it really depends on the industry. I know that the government itself is going to a Revit and BIM type organization, so that they are requesting more BIM type models. In addition, I know that a lot of governments are doing that, and a lot of it is just going to depend on the clients and the architecture firms themselves. Not all firms are going to move to Revit. Some firms are on the bleeding edge of Revit. So there is a lot of things that can be done in Revit today that couldn't be done a little while ago. But, that's a loaded question. I know that they would like to get everyone up to Revit, but I think AutoCAD architecture is still going to be here for a large number of years, and even AutoCAD is going to continue to be around probably forever. It's, as I call it, it's the gateway drug, right? Everyone starts with AutoCAD LT, and then they find out, well, I need to do a little more, and then all right, let's move up to AutoCAD so I can do a little more, and then, well, there's verticals, and then we've got some other stuff and things like that. So,
right. And we've got all those tool sets that they've added to it now as well.
Yep. So,
and for those of you who have not, the last webcast that Ryan did was on tool sets, and we've got that posted in our portal. If anybody needs the link to that, they can email me.
Okay. All right, tips and tricks on dimensioning and text annotation, quick ways to add my own dim styles. Okay, we got that. Expanded use of fields, maybe a quick overview on animated text. If I come across something, can I get to you, Lori, or Ryan? Yes, absolutely, Earl. You can definitely email Lori and let her know if you come across anything else that you might think of. So we've got expanded use of fields. Glenn, you're asking, where can I get one-on-one tutoring to use my new AutoCAD 2019 LT? I'd gladly pay for it. We can certainly, I know that we have classes, but if you want one-on-one, you can actually, I know that we do one-on-one type training here. We do offer that. It's basically a custom class, and you pay for it. That is something we can definitely do. We can definitely get you in touch with one of our salespeople. I think our sales, we have a sales number. If you just contact sales, we can get you definitely on the list, and we can talk about that. So that we can...
Is that Glenn? Glenn's asking that question?
Yep, Glenn.
Yeah, okay. And Glenn, if you're not sure who you should be reaching out to, then let me be the first person, and I will find somebody internally for you. I believe I sent you my email.
Yep, your email is definitely in the chat. I can see it.
Okay. Stop copying, pasting. You've got it. It's there. Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. All right. I will wind things down now. We've got a lot of great things to talk about in 2019. Thank you so much for all of your help, everyone. Ryan and I will have a conversation, clean this up, and hopefully we've got everybody on our list so that you'll know what we'll be talking about next year. And if you want to be added to the AutoCAD user group, just send me an email, and I'll make sure that you get all the information in regards to the upcoming webcasts. So with that, first, I want to thank Ryan for this year. It's been an amazing journey with you. I'm so thankful, and this group is so thankful for you and for your time. And as for everybody else, have a safe and happy holiday, and we will see you in February. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Ryan.
You bet.